But here's the thing: we talk about voting with our wallet, and we get excited when ratings go down or movies don't do that well, and that's good. That's good. These are steps along the right path. But Disney doesn't care. If Disney really wanted to turn things around and really wanted to make a lot of money and get back on top, I mean, they're just plummeting and plummeting and plummeting. But between Bob Iger and even the shareholders that keep him in power, they are doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on the agenda. They are trying to, rather than change something, rather than give you, the public, what you want and try to make money again through that interaction, that exchange. And that's the way that's the way mythology has always operated in these fictional entertainment industry contexts, right? Because as soon as we became, as I said before, a society of a bunch of different shared religions and shared, worldviews and whatnot, we still needed some kind of shared value system so that we could operate as a society, so that we could, be safe, and we could know that if someone did something wrong, attacked somebody, stole from somebody, whatever, society itself would say that's wrong. Here's our laws, here's our sanctions against that. And in mythology, the history of man, mythology, our shared stories have always been the way to hand down or propagate that sense of a shared valued system. Okay, so since we're societies now that no longer have a shared religion where everybody is the like one official religion of the society anymore, or worldview or anything like that, well, then we still need those stories somehow, and they became our fictional stories. We understood them to be fiction. So it started out as folklore. Then with the entertainment industry, it started out as an entertainment industry. And surprisingly, it still operated just fine. Because as I've said before, there was always even if it was kind of slow to happen, there was always a listening to the audience. So you look at a lot of the characters that really took in such a strict and strong place in our cultural mindset. Superman, for example, I've talked about it before, Batman as well. But the original Superman that came out in that first comic book is very different from the Superman we know of as the iconic Superman that stands for truth, justice, and the American way. All the DNA was still there in the character. He didn't, it's not like a night and day kind of thing, but he didn't fly. He was a little bit more of a tricksterish, almost like a Spider-Man like, kind of toying with the villains that he was, fighting. He even used his power a little bit to kind of intimidate, some of the people, not in a bad way, but it's just a very different character. But the appeal of the character was still there. The visceral appeal of the character was still there. And as it became more popular, especially as it grew into mediums like radio, different things happened. We need, how do you have the character leap? Let's just let him fly. It's just easier if he flies. So then flight became a thing, and as he became more pervasive to be out to, across like television and radio, now we're really broadcasting to all members of the family. It's not just kids can hide there and read their little story. So we need to make sure that certain values are safe and so forth. And it just kind of organically happened. Superman became the bastion of heroism, of iconic aspirational heroism. The same thing with Batman. I mean, yeah, he was a pulp hero in those first comics that were published. Again, the DNA of the character was there, but yeah, he had a gun like in one of the first comics. But he became something more. Pulp was a subculture around pulp. Pulp was not seen as safe, for kids, exactly. So Batman was formed into this great, wonderful thing. And Batman's a great example because he didn't become Mickey Mouse. He became still the Dark Knight, and dark, and he's got that word dark in him. He is a bat, someone who tries to terrorize the criminals who are trying to terrorize the people. And yet he's a knight, Knight, and he's chivalrous, and he has all of that aspirational heroism. And it was a great thing to see the character develop like that. So that kind of listening back and forth from the entertainment industry and the people and the audience, that was still there, and it was there for a long time. And it was really up into the 2000s that I think it really started to fall apart. And you can point to different dates or different movements, depending on what medium you're talking about. But now it's so far to the point where Disney, as I've said, in particular, other companies too, but Disney does not care what you want. They don't care what you refuse to go buy. They need you to shut up and get on board. They need you to shut up and let them change the culture. They need you to shut up and let them fight a culture war, but don't let them think that you know it's a culture war. No, because then you're starting a culture war. You're an aggressor. Okay, so why is that important? If they are not allowing, if they're not going to listen to you, and if not going to see the movie, at least to the level that we've been doing it right now, doesn't really affect them, right? They don't care. They don't care if Madam Web doesn't do very well. They don't care if their latest Disney Plus series, or the X-Men, doesn't do too well. They don't. That's not going to change their tactics at all. Bob Iger will try to pull the wool over your eyes a little bit more. He'll try to gaslight you. And it's not just Bob Iger. I hesitate just to kind of use one person's name, because people tend to like to, okay, that's our scapegoat then. If only Kathleen Kennedy was out of there, we could have great Star Wars stories again. Come on, wake up. Stop being so ridiculously naive. So I don't like, so it's, you name the people who are involved, but at the same time, you want to avoid it trying to be just, oh, it's just this one person, and if we could get rid of them, that's nonsense. The cancer is pervasive in the industry. Okay, though. So voting with our wallet to the level or to the extent that we've done thus far clearly isn't working. Okay, we're on the right path. We're on the right path, but it clearly isn't working. So what's hurting us still? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And I'm so thrilled, because I've been saying this for years, and I'm so thrilled that more people are starting to speak up and say this now. It's because a culture, a lucrative subculture, has grown up around the outrage of these movies. Even if the box office isn't great for a movie, the movie is shoved full force into the public consciousness by the outrage culture. For example, all the little YouTube channels that right up front of the line with their ticket money, they'll go see it. They can't even get off the parking lot before they are recording their reviews of it for you, talking about, oh, it's an outrage, oh, this and that. Or then some of them take the tactic, well, I'm going to be fair, and there's some things I like about it, but here's where it missed the mark, and they are keeping it relevant. Yes, you need money to survive as a company, but Disney's beyond, Disney's so far beyond the need of money to a certain extent. Like, you'd have to starve them forever to really make them feel it in the profits, because they are driven by their ideology. Relevance, that's their Achilles heel. That's where you can hurt them, is make them irrelevant. And outraging about every little thing they put out, tweeting up a storm, making videos about it, that just helps their relevance. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as bad publicity. All of these outrage channels and outlets are just giving them what they want. Think about it in a different context. Think about it as somebody going into a society and trying to preach the gospel, right? Preach a religion, not just the gospel, any religion. The worst thing for those evangelizers, the worst thing for those missionaries, is if people simply ignore them. That's the worst thing that can happen to them, in sense of them achieving their goal of getting this message out, trying to preach this religion. If people listen to them and are really outraged about it, and it becomes a big scandal, a big controversy, that's not the perfect response, but that's actually quite good. It's stirring things up. It's relevant. It matters, and it's going to seep into culture, and it's going to change things, even with the resistance. That's just, why can't people understand this? And what really ticks me off about these channels that do this is that they are so insincere. They're so smarmy about it. They pretend that they're fighting the good fight with you. Guys, you stay tuned to me, and we'll keep calling out this nonsense. Make sure you click that bell, and click that like and ring that bell, subscribe. And hey, I've got a Patreon too, and make sure this, and this, and you and me alone, we will fight this good fight. They are not interested in fighting any kind of fight. They're interested in revenue. They're interested in subscriber counts. They're interested in super chats. They're interested in all of this, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Hey, you make money on YouTube if you keep doing it a certain way, and that's great. But they're insincere. If they really wanted to stop, if they really wanted to change culture, you would make them irrelevant. That's just, it's obvious now. That's the way to stop the nonsense. If we stop pretending, if we stop giving so much attention, another way to think of it is like a child, a younger brother or a younger sister trying to aggravate, their sibling. Um, and they walk over to get one of their favorite toys, and like, oh, look, I'm going to sneeze on your favorite, stuffed bunny or whatever. I'm going to sneeze on it. That gets a rise out of you. Like, no, not Mr. Carrot or whatever. I don't know, whatever. Don't do that. Well, the more you react to that, the more they're going to really, play with that. Well, it's the same thing, that they are only coming after your franchises because you pay attention to those franchises. They're only putting all their nonsense ideology into the X-Men because you care about the X-Men. Now, here's the thing, though. They can never take away from you, as long as you get the physical media anyway, they can never take away from you the original wonderful 90s X-Men series. You can buy that and watch that over and over and over again. You can tweet about it. You can have little communities. You can have groups about it. They can never take away from you the stuff that's out there that you love. Yeah, but I need new stuff. Oh, but I need new stuff. Oh, but I wanted this, and I hope that would be good. And the new stuff, and that's what betrays some insincerity, I think, in the so-called fans who are supposedly outraged about it. You might be watching this and thinking, yeah, I agree with you, Prof. Why are people even reviewing Madam Web? Come on, could you not see that coming? And again, I'm not talking about people who just have straight up movie review channels. If you are just a movie review channel, you're not here trying to talk about the nonsense and the woke, and you're not talking about the culture war, you're just here to review movies, then yeah, it makes sense that you would just go see every movie and review every movie. That makes sense. I'm talking about the channels that try to pretend that they're one of us and they're trying to fight with you guys, and we're so mad at Disney for ruining these franchises and blah, blah, blah. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't just be a news coverage channel and fight the good fight with us, because those two things don't work. They don't work together. If you're really going to, fight the culture war, then you would ignore a certain thing. Well, I can't ignore it because that algorithm wouldn't reward my channel then, and then I can't, do this and that with the income. And that's where the insincerity comes in. And a lot of people are listening and whether here live or later in a recording and thinking, yeah, you're right, Prof. You're right, Prof. They made way too many. Here's the thing to ask. And you don't have to tell anybody, but you have to ask and be honest with yourself. How many reviews have you looked up of Madam Web? How many reviews have you looked up of the last woke disaster? How many Miss Marvel is a disaster videos have you sought out and watched? They're tabloid. It's tabloid material. This is the Jerry Springer of our age. Oh, but it feels good to sit there and watch how stupid that is. Oh, I got to, maybe I should even go see the movie to see how stupid that is. So many of the so-called fans who are supposedly outraged about all this nonsense don't really care about the franchises. They don't. They enjoy the outrage culture. They're the audience at a Jerry Springer show. They just want the drama. They just want, that's all they want. And a lot of, and, I know I've got a wonderful community, and I'm not speaking to any of you individually. I know I've got great people here in the chat, but let's just be honest. Statistically, a lot of you listening to me right now are just as much a part of the problem as these outrage channels that go through and review and try to be, stay relevant and all that kind of stuff. That's the problem. Shut up. Make them irrelevant. And you can turn around and say, well, isn't making your video right now, Prof? Aren't you talking about it right now? What's the difference? Well, it's a huge difference. First of all, I'm not reviewing Madam Web. I'm not trying to laugh at it and make a big joke about it and make it even interesting. I'm not playing into the outrage culture. I'm calling out the problem that's going on. Yeah, Disney says this, we should read between the lines. Fine, do videos about that. Oh, but that's not going to get that sweet algorithm. That's not going to get those views. That's not going to make your channel grow. They know what they're doing. These channels it's really straight up predatory. It's manipulative. Hey guys, we're fighting the good fight together. Ring that bell for me. This and that. It's predatory. It's they're giving you what they know you want, and you, if you were honest with yourself, would realize you don't care about Superman. You don't care about Star Wars. You don't care about X-Men. You like the way that feels. You like that sweet, sweet drama. Oh, it feels so good going down. You just want to watch Jerry Springer. That's all you really want to do. It's truths that people just can't bring themselves to see. And again, not everybody here, of course. And, if you notice, I'm very careful not to name any individual channel, although we can all think of, 20 different channels right now if we just try to that fall into this category. But it's nothing's personal about anybody in specific. I don't even have specific channels in mind when I say this because it's so pervasive. It's so pervasive. And just because a channel might do this sometimes doesn't mean that they don't produce some good content over here or whatever. But I think we finally, if the channels, if YouTube was about giving us a voice. YouTube was about a platform where average people, anybody with a cell phone, can just click record and give their thoughts and broadcast it to other people. And that's, that was a nice thing about YouTube. Now it's become a CNN. It's become, you see the channels with their really super slick, cameras, and they're super, not there's anything wrong with having professional equipment, but it's become that polished. It's become that slick, that money making. And it might as well be you're watching some cable news network or whatever, a specific one slanted to your, tastes or whatever, but they might as well be that. It's no longer, in a lot of cases, it's no longer authentic commentary from the people anymore. It's people who decided, hey, if I give you that, you'll throw money at me. And it's so insincere, and it's actually not doing anything for the culture war. It's not changing anything. In fact, it's perpetuating it. Disney wants attention. You're giving them attention. People get met when I do videos like this, and I've been saying this for years. Whenever I cut out one, especially, and put it as a video, this is ridiculous. They get so mad, and it's like, okay, if I wasn't touching a nerve, if there wasn't any truth to what I said, why would you care about what some professor, says to his cell phone on YouTube? Just, screw that guy. Do not recommend channel. And then you go watch all your favorite outrage channels. I mean, if there was no truth to what I said, people wouldn't be so viscerally upset by it. But they are, because it's their addiction. It's like this isn't the same, and I don't think there's anything wrong with watching like pro wrestling or heck, even soap operas if that's somebody's thing. But you go to an old grandpa who likes to watch wrestling, and I remember my my grandfather, if you told him that wrestling was fake, it's not fake, it's not fake. If you tell a grandmother or something that, yeah, you maybe shouldn't watch so many soap operas, like they get, it's like, don't you take away my addiction, don't you take away my feel good, that's they wouldn't get so upset if there wasn't some truth to it.